Welcome to Attican Plays Rise of Industry. All right, hi, this is Attican and welcome to another Rise of Industry video. In this video, we are going to talk about how to construct a large supply chain. What do you do when you want to set up a supply chain or a production set or whatever you want to call it to create products, and you need a lot. You need a bunch of stuff. I'm talking 54 factories and 15 or 20 farms and 10 water siphons and all that good stuff. How do you get that organized so that it works efficiently and doesn't drive you crazy? So we're going to go through that in this video. But to catch you up from where we are, this is our Iberia map where we're doing our normal playthrough on version 6.3. And last video we talked about this right up here, this nice little, that's not that little really, set of factories where we were talking about how to organize yourself to handle the items, the base items that use coal and iron and ore and sand and oil and gas and wood. And we talked about that and how to set up some deliveries, and we got into a little bit of selling off surplus, and I want to thank Frederick. He put a comment that made me think a little bit. I went out and did a little research, and we could talk a little bit more about the proper way to sell off surplus. So thank you, Frederick. But basically what I did was I actually took about a year and just did research. We were making so much money that it was time to get some research out of the way. Took about a year and actually researched all the train stuff and tunnels and bridges and did the advanced logistics stuff. Here, let me show you. We did research on, where are we? Got all the road stuff all the way through, all the tunnel and bridge stuff with speed and cheaper tunnels and all that good stuff. And we also went out to our basic distribution and got all of this done. So now we have bigger warehouses that are capable of supporting more destinations with again more destinations and larger collection areas if you need it. And we got we've got our faster, bigger trucks, which I think we already had, and I even went out and did all the train research and we've got now big fast trains that have lots of destinations at the terminal. So we could go trains if we wanted to. It's still not time for trains because this map just isn't that big. And what we're doing is the next thing we're going to do, I like to think, is well organized. And I was thinking about using trains and just not necessary. So while all that research was going on, I went around to the different cities and saw what was happening. And there's some really great news. Iberia keeps growing, and it's up to the point where the diner, this is beautiful, the diner now, instead of one berry pie every 15 days, now it needs 2. In other words, the demand has doubled for berry pies. It's got a construction goods, no good, nothing good in it. Home goods, it's got a home goods shop with some good stuff in it, office furniture, leather furniture, plastic furniture. We could go there. It's got a liquor store with brandy. Keep that one in mind. It's got a liquor store, and that means we could do brandy, which is a really good product to do. It's got a bookstore that's got newspaper books and deluxe books we could get into if we wanted to. But here's the other thing that's great. Oberon has also opened up a diner, and Oberon has grown, and I'm not going to show you because I don't want to give away what's coming up. Oberon has a diner, and that diner has a demand for 2 berry pies. So our demand went up in Iberia, and we have 2 more per 15 days in Oberon. So that gives us a grand total of 4. We've been supplying 1 per 15 days. Now we have a demand of 4. So we need 4 times the berry pies to match the demand that's out there on our map right this minute. So the rest of the city's not much going on. A little bit. The little tiny town of Oasis actually has a car parts store where we could do interior lining again and repeat that process, and that would be profitable. And then one other thing to keep in mind, remember I said there's a liquor store in Iberia. There's also up here in the little town of Stroud that has a liquor store. So if we wanted to, we could set up a nice brandy business and sell to both of them and have twice the demand. So that would be great. But where we really want to go, of course, I'm sure you can see it coming. You know where I'm going to go. We're doing more berry pies. So I wanted to show you how one way of setting up a very large supply chain, and that is right over here. I set it up as something central between Iberia and Oberon because that's where we wanted to do the delivery. So let me walk you through kind of what this thing looks like and how it works. And I've thought about doing a video and just literally showing it being built, but it's, you know, it's a pretty tedious process, and I thought it'd be more useful just to give you the end result and then try to walk through the details, hopefully not boring you to death. Okay, so we want to make berry pies. We want to send off a total demand, as I said, of 4 berry pies every 15 days. Sorry. My own inside joke there. Okay, so if we have a demand for 4, that means we really need 8 buildings. If we had 8 buildings, we're looking at a net income of something like 11 million, you know, like 12 million in sales a month, and a net income of almost 11, which is kind of ridiculous. That's sort of amazing. But so here's our deal. We've got 2 in existence, so we really need 6 more that we want to build. So here you can see all the stuff we're going to have to build if we go with 6. We don't have any. I've already done all the research. We would have already done it anyway, and we're going to get an amazing return on our investment. And we're going to build 48 and 6, 54 factories. And then this would be 6 and 11, 17, about 17 or 18 farms, a dozen water siphons. So this is a big supply chain. So how in the world do you build this without going nuts? Now, we could spread it out all over the place and use our trains or whatever to pull it in, but I wanted to show you a more kind of a modular but tight, close-knit kind of a thing where you don't wear yourself out with moving goods around. So here's the supply chain. It's this whole thing right here, and I really built it literally from the end point backwards. I thought, where would I want to have this to deliver to these 2 cities? Right here. So put in the berry pies, and you'll notice there are 4 berry pies. These berry pies are all going to deliver to this truck depot. These 2 deliver to this truck depot. Reason being that we want to send the output of 4 of the pies over here to Oberon, and we want to send the output of 2 of the pies over here to Iberia, to this little truck stop right here, this depot, because we already have 2 going in from the original one we set up. So we've got 2 here, and we'll have 2 more up here. That'll give us 4 a month feeding into Iberia. And we have these 4 up here that would feed into Oberon. So that's pretty simple, right? We'll be able to match the demand in both cities. And we'll have, of course, a trade route that goes between this pies to Iberia and the Iberia truck depot, and another one that goes from the pies to Oberon truck depot to the Oberon depot that does the final delivery. So we've got berry pies, so they need berries and flour. So we've got the berries nearby, and we've got our berry fields all set up. We've got water going into our berries, and the berries then feed. Actually, in this case, the berries, the way it worked out best, I ended up settling on, the berries actually feed into these 2 depots, and these 2 depots then send the berries out to all the individual factories. And this is, again, the point of the research. Remember, we did the research to improve our trucking, and one of the things you get with the trucking is you get more potential destinations. So now these truck depots can actually send stuff out to all 6 of these berry pies, which is very convenient because now we skip going to the warehouse and we keep the berries moving into the berry pie factory. So then, how in the world do they get their dough? Well, the dough is right here. all these dough factories actually deliver their product to the warehouse. And I could have done it another way to do it would have been to have them deliver to this warehouse and have this warehouse deliver to that warehouse. But we've just got the dough being delivered directly to this warehouse, and then of course the berry pies can go get it. So now the flour is coming to this warehouse. So now our berry pies can get the flour, they can get the berries, they're good to go, provided the rest of this chain works. Well, the way it works is we've got some water being fed into this warehouse so that the dough factories can get their water. And then we've got flour factories set up. Those flour factories take their output and put it in this warehouse, which then can be taken by these dough factories for their use. So now we've got flour going to the dough. Now, how does the flour get their wheat? Well, you can imagine. The wheat feeds into these wheat fields right here, go directly to this warehouse. They have water that comes directly into the wheat fields and some extra water that comes here. So they stay nice and green, like a nice golden wheat fields. These wheat fields up here have water coming into them, and they all deliver to this warehouse. This warehouse then delivers to this other warehouse. So now the wheat from here goes into this warehouse. The wheat from here goes into this warehouse. This flour is all within range of this warehouse, so they can take the wheat out. They do their thing, make the flour, put their output in the dough warehouse. Dough grabs the wheat, makes the dough, sends the dough to the berry pies warehouse. Berry pies grab the dough, and off we go. And there it is. It's a simple thing. We've got 6 pie factories here. We've got 24 dough factories here. We've got 24 flour factories here. We've got 11 wheat farms up here, supported by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 water siphons here, a couple of water siphons supporting the dough, and then we've got back here at the kind of the beginning or the end, however you want to think of it, we have 6 berry fields supplying berries to our 6 factories, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 water siphons supplying water to these berries. So that's it. I mean, it's kind of that simple, and it seems to work pretty well. I unfortunately, since I've loaded this, I've lost my financials, but I can tell you that right before I quit, this is January of year 16, and I ran it right after it flipped over to January, and our annual sales in berry pies was $130 million. So we did about $130 million in product sales, and if we look at our spreadsheet, if we were doing eight setups of berry pies, we would expect to do about 12 million in revenue a month, which is 144 million. So we're pretty close to that number. Our efficiencies are not perfect, and I can tell you, it's year 16. We're up to about $880 million in cash. We're making, I don't know, 12 million a month in net income. So we're doing okay. But the thing is, it could have been so much faster. I learned so many lessons in doing this. The first one I learned, the biggest one, the one that kept killing me actually, all this stuff seemed, I don't know if that seems complicated to you, it's actually pretty simple. It actually worked pretty well. The hardest thing was the berries, and it turned out that it was simply, I had misread the spreadsheet. I didn't make the whole 27 fields that I needed. I had only made like 23 or 20 or something like that. Let's see, 5, 10, 15. I'd made 18, I think. And I couldn't figure out. I kept looking and saying, my God, why can't we get berries? And it was really simple. I didn't have enough berry farms. Once I got the berry fields planted and watered and going, then this thing turned to a green, and now you can see a beautifully efficient system running. Fairly big, fairly complex system, but running beautifully and pumping out 130 plus $1 million in annual sales. And probably, I'm sure it'll go higher than that. I'm confident that it'll be higher than that when it gets to a full year of being totally efficient. I don't know if the year that I've got, the last year I got, was totally efficient. So my point is that where it took us, I don't know, 5 or 6 years to get this going, it really should have taken a couple to really have it going, rocking and rolling. And I think I've learned some lessons from this, and hopefully, I say I'll do better, but I probably won't. I'll find a way to mess it up next time too. But just the same, very happy with the results. This is a really good, efficient system. I tried to build it so you could even add on. If we got, if Iberia grows and the demand goes up, or Oberon grows, that we could pump in, like another set of flour and another set of flour and another set of dough, some more water, a little more wheat, some more berries, or maybe we'd have to go out here and maybe have a wheat field in the distance and ship it in or whatever. But I think we could plug into this and make it bigger if we needed to. But right now, as it is, it works beautifully. Now, I mentioned Frederick had asked me a question about, his question was, couldn't you just add a contract? Like if you got a contract to do berry pies, instead of, going in and taking this guy and saying, okay, don't go there, I want you to go, or adding to that, just saying, add the contract to that. Why wouldn't that work? And got to give that some more thought, but the thing is, you don't really set priorities on these destinations. You're setting how much goods are shipped to your destination. So for example, when this says this is the max amount stored at the destination. So right now it's set on infinity, which means it'll just ship however much it has, it'll ship off. Now we could use that to an advantage, and this is what I wanted to talk about quickly. In the last video, we went over here, remember, and we did some selling off of our surplus. And one of the things we did was we said, let's see, where was it? We, like this hardware store, we said take the max amount to that hardware store. Well, one of the things we could do with this now is instead of saying take the max amount, just try to keep a few in the hardware store, like maybe a month's supply or something like that. So let's see, what would be a hardware store would, they would like 16, they would like 32 a month. So let's just say that let's just match that. Let's just say ship off 32 a month to the hardware store. So now, whenever each new month comes along, we would then trigger a new shipment, and that would be a great way to kind of have regular shipments of these goods going into the city. And you could do the same thing with this. If you had an overproduction of a good and you didn't want to flood the market, you could use this to turn it down and only put in like say a month or 2 months supply, so that you're not driving down the prices by flooding the market, but you've got them ready to go so that you can keep a steady supply and know that you're going to max out and hit your full demand every month. So that's a great thing. Now, where that doesn't mean a whole lot to the way I like to play, and what I'm finding is what I think is the best practice, I try to match demand exactly. I do not overproduce, because my feeling is if you overproduce in anticipation of growth, you are during that entire time driving up your costs, therefore driving down your net income, therefore driving down the amount of money you have to invest in other things and to grow your business. So, and in this game, it's very, very easy, just like here when we saw that those berry pies, when we saw that increase, and look at that. In the time I've set this up, it's gone up to 3. So now we have even more demand for berry pies, and we could throw even more berry pies at Iberia. We would need 2 more berry pie factories. And what's the demand over here? Are they going to kill us too? No, they're still at 2. They're still at 2, so that's not quite so bad. But anyway, got sidetracked there. What I was saying is, my feeling on this is you should match your demand and never overproduce on purpose. Now you do overproduce sometimes unintentional consequences, like for example when you have a slightly imperfect ratios where you are building to the demand, not trying to set up perfect ratios here, then you're going to have, in our case here, excess wood. So sell it off the way we just talked about. Excess fabric, sell it off the way we just talked about. But generally speaking, you're not going to have a lot of excess. And again, when you do, there are certainly ways you can sell it off. But I don't try to overproduce the main product is the point. And so therefore, being able to limit the shipments is really irrelevant, because I'm trying to get all the berry pies I can in there, because if I do 100% production and beautiful production and beautiful shipping, and we're pretty close to that, we're pretty close, then pardon me, then we would see an exact match of demand in the city, and we'd be making all the money we could make at that point in time, and we can always grow more. Just like now that we know there's another opportunity for more berry pies in Iberia, we can go out here and see if we can add into this setup and go from there, or if we need to build something else to go with it. One thing we could do if we felt like it's just going to be too difficult to build this, we could literally just build like this, like one, and build it over here somewhere, and then just ship the final flour to the warehouse, and the berries to the warehouse, and then our berry pie business we could then add the berry pies here, and we've already got our shipping set up to go. And I think one lesson learned for me from this is, if you think about your strategy for the game, when you get a product like the berry pies, if they keep growing, just keep growing them, because if you look at and again, sorry, I'm going to gripe, but I should be able to pull this up when I reload, but I can tell you that these berry pies were, like I said, like 130 million that we were doing in a year. And you look at and interior linings was a fraction of that. And our other products were, way lower. All of them added up together the berry pies we're doing more business in berry pies than we are in everything else put together. And that's because you've got a high margin, high priced item. And now it's actually got decent demand. It's up to 8. Actually, it's up to 9 now, or no, 4, 3, and 5. 5. We're up to 5 every 15 days, 10 a month. It's up to 10 a month, so we've got enough supply for this high-end stuff that keep us busy forever. So you could build. So my point is, you could build your entire base economy on the industry that you choose. You don't have to create one thing for furniture and one thing for books and one thing for this and one thing for that. You just have to, but again, you have to kind of react to what the map gives you. If the map doesn't give you that opportunity, if there was no diner in Oberon and there was no other diner, we would just have Iberia, and we would do great with berry pies, but then we would truly need to find another niche to play in. By the way, the next niche to play in for this one, besides that extra berry pie demand here, would be brandy. And I think the way to do that would be to set up a brandy industry here in the middle somewhere that could ship to the liquor store in Iberia and up here to the liquor store in Stroud. That way you got, you're kind of trying to fulfill double demand. It's almost as if you had a really great liquor store in Iberia. So, or in one city. Let's just see what that demand is here. Oh, we're already up to 3. So this is the other thing. Once these cities get big, you can do anything, because now we've got a demand for 3 in Iberia, 3 brandy, and in Stroud we've got a demand for, I think 1, or no, 2. It's up to 2. My goodness. So that's 5 brandy. That's. Let's just see. That's ridiculous amounts of money as well. It's not quite berry pie territory, but it's up there. So if we had a demand for 5 brandy, we would need 10 brandy setups to get that done. Oh, wow. That's very, very close to... I got too many. I'm going to take off those surplus cells. I think that's over. oh, this is, this is getting close to berry pie levels of profit we can make. So if you're looking for more money, the way to go right now would be to grab that brandy. Expand your berry pies and grab that brandy. And don't mess with diodes and copper wire and stuff like that. Again, build tier 3. It's the same mantra I've been preaching all along. So there, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that'll help give you some ideas for how to build one of these. And I will, in the future, just stop and kind of play the game a bit, because I know I'm just sort of showing you concepts, and I'm sure some of you would like to actually see this being done. And I promise I will do that in the future, but I want to get these concepts out there because I think to me, they're the more helpful. It's more helpful to give you the ideas and let you play with them. That's the point of this channel. It's not to watch me play. I'm really not that great a player, but it's to give you the ideas so that you can develop them into your own style of play and fit them in and do well and enjoy the game. That's the whole point. So that's where we go next. And what else do we want to do? We want to eventually, of course, we're starting to make so much money now that it's time for us to think about the car prototype and maybe, finishing off this map and, seeing the victory screen. So we'll think about maybe brandy next, and then get into cars. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it'll help you become a better player, and I hope you'll join us for our next Rise of Industry video. Thank you.